Welcome back to the Empathic Leader, where we talk all things empathy, EQ, and emotional intelligence. You're going to love our guest today. I would like you to meet Doug Crowe, a modern growth strategist that gets tangible results for business. Now, I'm told he was never homeless or raised by wolves, which is kind of too bad because I was really looking forward to hearing about the wolves. But while that might make for a better story, I guess it just ain't true. He did, however, win the Dale Carnegie Highest Achievement Award as a high school student and became one of the youngest trainers for that organization. He also graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in radio, television, and film. He's worked at CBS Television, was a host at ABC Radio, authored several best-selling books, including Express Lane to Success, and I wrote the book on it, and is currently a contributor to Entrepreneur magazine. Currently, he's the CEO and founder of a company that hyper-focuses on relationship-first methods, which is always of interest to our audience, to grow companies, and is a personal brand specialist, media insider, and publisher. His firm has launched over 500 books to #1 Amazon bestsellers and has ghostwritten, marketed, and published books for executives from, wait for it, Apple, Pepsi, National Geographic, Touchstone Pictures, Louis Vuitton, the NFL, NASA, and veterans from every branch of our armed forces. As if he had a bunch of extra time on his hands, he's also a pilot, a scuba diver, a photographer, a magician, and a father of 3. Please welcome to the show, Doug Crowe.
I want to meet that guy. It sounds interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I really want to hear about the wolves that didn't exist. I'm so sad.
I have other tragic stories we could talk about, but I'll let you lead on what you want to chat about today, so it's fine.
Hey, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, your resume and your website and everything you've done is both wide and deep, which is super cool. And you talk a lot about relationships and being relationship first and people-centered. So I'd really like to hear a little bit about what actually brought you to that. I mean, not just as something that's important, but as a strategy, and why you really work to include it in what you do.
Yeah, it's the long tail, long version of that, as I mentioned in my bio, is that when I was in high school, freshman year, I was, second to last pick of gym class, a wallflower, quiet, shy, pretty much Mr. Cellophane, invisible. And when I was in junior achievement, I was the only kid in my entire school who signed up to do this, pretend business thing with JA. They offered the Dale Carnegie course in human relations and public speaking as a free gift. And my dad had been through it back in the 50s. And he's like, wow, that's really a really great thing for you. And lo and behold, after going through it, becoming a trainer, I completely transformed who I was. I became class president, homecoming king, VP of student council, and I became a different person because of it. And it wasn't about me. It was about the way I dealt with other people. And this whole thing we've seen in the past, decade or so, maybe longer, on the internet and digital marketing, podcasts, for example, has really shone the light on what's valuable to people. It's so easy to get hooked into the shiny object, AI and social media, and everyone's got their own TV show now and all that great stuff. But at the end of the day, relationships will always win. And this is especially true in my case because we work with pretty influential people, as you mentioned. And, none of my clients are going to go watch a video sales letter or go through a funnel on Facebook, right? These are too busy growing, scaling, exiting companies, going public, things like that. They want to get to the solution right away. And that doesn't happen easily, but it happens boldly with, hey, a relationship first, business second.
So do you find that because of your business strategy, you attract people that already kind of believe this, or are you able to take people that maybe don't believe it and change their minds?
No, I don't try to change anyone's mind. That's a fool's errand. If somebody understands the relationship, the value of relationships, we're going to get along great. Mm-hmm. If they want to, for example, launch their book and do a whole digital campaign and never do an in-person tour, never talk to one person, a center of influence about their book or their message. If they're too shy to pick up the phone and call somebody or speak at a conference, then it's not in our lane, right? So nothing wrong with digital marketing, by the way. I still love it. I love using AI. I love the hooks. I have a CRM. I have all the tools that we've used, but I don't use them to build relationships. I have a saying that we use AI, but we don't let AI use us.
Yes, you actually had an interesting quote on your website that automation is great for efficiency and horrible for building relationships.
Exactly, right?
And I was like cheering, especially because we are in the era of AI.
Yeah. No, we're just beginnings of it, really. And, I get the feeds, right? I don't unsubscribe to things too quickly, but I get these feeds about, hey, I can have this AI sales agent, this AI bot. AI can dial and talk to your customers. And, they're going to be people pretty soon. They say it can close a deal for you. Maybe it already has. And that might be true. If I'm going to sell a $10 book, maybe AI can do point A to end, introduction, nurturing, and closing on a $10 or $20 item. Nothing wrong with that if it works. That's just on the playground where we live in. I live in an area where I'm going to help a founder or a CEO of a company, brand their message, ghostwrite a book, become a thought leader in their industry. And that always comes from a relationship with their audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I don't know that AI would be very effective, honestly. Maybe someday it would be. But
I'm a science fiction fan. I can see in the future where we might not be able to tell the difference. We already are getting fooled with some deep fake stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. So maybe in the future, I will be 100% wrong. I'm not opposed to always challenging my beliefs, but I won't jeopardize my values. There's a big difference.
And that's exactly the kind of thought leadership we need going into this technological era. So I appreciate that very much. Yeah. I'm going to wait for the robot maids and the Jetsons cars, and we're just not there yet.
Let's start with those first. Yeah. The maid and some of the tactical, boring things like my team used to labor through doing data research or finding speaking gigs for our clients. I'm like, just go to AI. It can pull up every single gig opportunity right now for you. So it's a great tool for research data and even for some copywriting and some things we do at a light touch, but connecting with a human being with their core origin story, developing drama, communicating with their audience at a empathetic level. Come on. AI is a great, fast tool, no doubt about it, but it doesn't have a soul, doesn't have any experience. It's just regurgitating our experiences.
Yes, it is. And they're finding that it's doing weird things. There was an article in a law review a couple of weeks ago about how, a lot of these lawyers will go to AI to find case law for precedent, but it's like hallucinating and making things up, which is making things difficult. So
the citations are getting better. I use Perplexity a lot because it's always gives you source of where it's curating a bunch of content and then gives you the source where it got it. So I always go and click on, okay, where did this come from? Make sure it made sense. So it's an extra step, but it's important, I think, for most things that we create.
It is very important. So your life, you've done, like I said, it's wide and deep. You've been able to do a lot of different things. Yeah. And one of the things that we talk about on the show is self-leadership and being able to lead yourself first before you're leading other people.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you could talk about maybe a time in your life when you really had to tap into that to be able to do what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, there are two times that come to mind. First one's a pandemic. And the one before that would be when I had my major fall. I used to be a real estate investor, had a radio show on ABC talking about real estate investing, and I was a developer. I'd done condo conversions and some subdivisions and rehabs and I did a lot of real estate investment things until 2008. All went down the sewer. 20 years of all of my wealth and reputation was evaporated in about 9 months. And it was the worst time in my life so far. And I lost everything. I lost all my wealth, my potential future, a bunch of friends, marriage, almost lost my life. I'd seriously considered taking that out. And normally, you have a negative day or thought that goes quickly through your brain, but mine started to stay in there for a while. I'm like, oh, that's dangerous. So self-leadership, my story of that was kind of interesting because I was sad, angry, depressed at a clinical level, and trying to work my way out of it because I'm I'm the reader. I read the Dale Carnegie stuff, right? I keep this little book on my desk, and I'm going back to Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins, all these leaders about how to do these things, and I'm mad at them. I'm listening to them on CDs going, you're an idiot. You suck. I don't like this. I don't believe you anymore. I was not myself. And one day I'm driving the road, just leaving my basement of my foreclosed home, trying to go make some money doing something. I forget what it was. And I pop a CD in the car, and 9 months of clinical depression gone in 6 seconds. Like, what the heck happened to me? And I go to eject the CD. And as I take it out, I don't recognize this guy's voice. And I pull it out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was me. It was my goal-setting CD I had created for my real estate academy. I didn't recognize my own voice. But once I heard it and heard the energy and tapped into the old Doug, I was like, oh, you're back. Just like that. And self-leadership, it was an awakening of a magnitude I can't describe effectively, but it was profound. And my next thought was, how can I help other people with this, right? Most people have a, rags to riches story. I had a riches to rags story. Like, I had to go backwards. So I invented some software, and I used my last few dollars to have this thing made where it would take a person's goals. You fill out a form, and I also capture the personality. And through this form and find and replace, basically, it created an actual physical book with their name on the front cover, their picture in the back. And it read in first person, talked about them, about their future. It said, hey, it's 2030. Thank goodness in 2025 you did these things. Now you're sitting on the beach in Hawaii, living the good life with your family, blah, 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 because you did these things. And it was a chapter a day for 30 days. It was a short little book. But I had a 100% open rate on it because, man, everyone who got that loved it. It was their favorite topic. It was about them. So it worked really well. We had an email that came in with the same thing, an email from the future and a voicemail from the future, and a thing my buddy Chris called Nagomatic, where they get a text. Suppose your goal is, losing 20 pounds. Well, every morning or every afternoon at lunchtime, depending on your personality, the text would say, hey, you can do it. Don't forget to drink a glass of water before lunch, or stop eating that donut, Tubby. Depending on what your personality was, the app and the process would adapt to you and give you the encouragement or slap that you needed to hit your goal. So I take this entire thing. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to take over the world. I take it to Chet Holmes, who he's passed since, but he's very, very popular man in the business and self-development space. He looks at it and says, this is cute, Doug. What do I want with a $100 little piece of software and a little paperback book? Why don't you just write a real book for people and charge, 1,000 times more? Like, oh, that's a good idea. So we became ghostwriters and publishers at our company. We've been doing that for 15 years.
See, but what I'm hearing is that you took, you took kind of a rotten situation. You figured out how to be able to turn it for yourself. And now you're able to offer services to other people through that experience. So it's this continued paying forward of self-leadership. And, that's exactly what I like to hear.
Yeah. I mean, how can you possibly lead others if you can't lead yourself? I mean, it sounds sort of obvious, but we've both seen people who are not doing it right. They're focusing on the numbers. They're focusing on their EBITDA. They're focusing on something else, some metric of their company as opposed to themselves.
Yes.
And there's successful leaders who operate that way. We've heard of them and may or may not like or appreciate them, but it works. But it always works better because there's other currencies other than money.
Yes.
And if you only have one currency in your wallet, then you're indeed not a very rich person. So I love investing in people as much as myself, and of course money too. But at the end of the day, you're only leaving one thing behind. That's your name, your reputation. Not leaving, you don't get to take anything with you.
Yeah, it's true. And as human beings, I mean, that we're designed for connection. That's what we do, you know?
Yes. Yeah. What's that one quote? We've never been more connected and less, I had to figure out what it was. We've never been more connected digitally and less connected spiritually, or something like that. There's a lot of ways to frame this up, but the whole internet, social media thing has been great. It's been a huge thing for our economy, but it's also made us angry. You know, not having to talk about sex, politics, religion at Thanksgiving dinner anymore. That was so much fun back before the social media, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's everything has a yin and a yang to it, I guess. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure with AI, we're going to see that play out in similar ways. You know, we'll look back in 20 years and be like, wow, I never saw that coming.
unrecognizable, right?
Yeah.
Unrecognizable. Yeah.
So you do a lot of work with leaders, with executives, with top level people.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about branding, personal branding within a business setting and how that
Mm-hmm.
can help propel these leaders to greater success.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just like to hear a little more about that, because you don't necessarily hear personal branding and corporate put together very often.
It's so vital nowadays, even more than ever, for a bunch of reasons. And one of the examples I give is that, well, gosh, you know, nobody really buys a Nike shoe, right? They buy the feeling that's been created by watching Michael Jordan in a commercial. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is we always, and this is at a higher level, right? I'm not talking about a pack of gum. I'm talking about, you know, something of substance, you know, a larger project or business or product or service. We always, you know, transact with people, not with brands. Brands are there to support the interpersonal relationship, the sale, the transaction, whatever it is. And the other example I give is like, listen, you know, even McDonald's has a clown. Okay. So you better have a personality with your business. Otherwise you're just a commodity. There's no personality behind Intel. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of personality with a lot of our brands out there with Starbucks, and the feeling you get by walking around with that mug with your little Starbucks symbol on there, or your Gucci bag or things like that. So personal branding is, number one, personality of your business or enterprise. But at a deeper level, the person behind it is so vital. If you look at like Tony Hsieh, right? It started Zappos and wrote a book, Delivering Happiness. And, you know, it wasn't because of this book necessarily, but it certainly helped when Amazon bought him for $1 billion. So having a personality or having a personal brand with your company, no matter at any level, is going to only benefit you both tactically today and strategically for the future. We work with a lot of individuals who are very happy with their business, but as someday they might want to retire, be on a board of directors somewhere, do something different. And my gosh, that's not difficult to do if you've been successful and built an 8 or 9, 10-figure company, but it's so much easier if you've got a book to go along with it. Because now you're a thought leader in this space. I've got a bunch of clients who have like, hey, I'm a professional in energy. I know this space really, really well. I'm building my company up. I'm going to probably sell it or give it to my kids in the next 5 years. But after that, I'm only 40. What am I going to do? I don't know. Like, man, you just want to work on your swan song, on your book, on your position, what you stand for, or what you stand against, either way. But you've got to have that personal brand, because without it, you might be starting over again with from ground zero. And you got a little credibility and experience, but a book will give you permanence, because everything else out there, brochures, social media, email, even this podcast, everything is very, very temporary, because we don't really have a Library of Congress for tweets, do we? No. We have a Library of Congress for books, because I've never thrown a book away in the garbage in my life. I've thrown business cards away as soon as I get them, but books never. It's like we feel like we're burning them or something, right? We're never going to burn a book.
Yeah. If
it's a bad book, I might donate it to Goodwill, but I'm not going to burn it or put it in the garbage can. So.
Yeah. I even have a hard time writing in books, which it's like, what's the big deal? But yeah, I just feel like it's like not right somehow. You know?
Yeah. So a personal brand is definitely an advantage. There's hardly a person or business owner who won't benefit from it. From both, like I said, today's reason as well as the future.
So what about people that maybe aren't at the top level leadership? Those that are aspiring or up and coming?
That's everybody, by the way.
Yeah.
I work with a guy who, I have a couple billionaire clients, and you'd say they're at the top of their game, and certainly financially they are. But the good ones, they always say they're always learning, always growing, always sharing. They're involved in the game. And here's the other thing. I gotta say this because it's so funny, because I talk to a lot of people about their book and their brand and all that. And, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. I'm like, there's already one. Why don't you just be the best Bob Jones? Okay. Just be the best you can be, and quit trying to take over the world. Why don't you take over your community first? I have an expression I love to use, like, I can help you become slightly famous. And that means in your community, in your niche, 7 billion people, it's unlikely they're all going to know you. And don't try. It's not wise. But hey, if you're a really good florist and you got some really cool thing, your floral shop just rocks, and there's a bunch of floral shops who are struggling, you can dominate that industry within a year if you do it right. So whatever your niche is, and please, the narrower you go, the better this works. I remember a quick story that I was learning about the internet, when it came out in 98, 99, and I'm watching this thing on a forum, right? And this person talked about how they made before 2000, right? This is before the big bubble. They were making $80,000 a year selling tumbleweeds. Tumbleweeds online. Had a store. They lived out in the West. They go pick them up, box them up, ship them. $80,000 a year in 25 years ago. So don't tell me your niche is too narrow. Oh, no one's going to want to talk to left-handed paper hangers in Iowa. Oh my gosh, there's plenty of them there, and you could dominate that in less than a year. But the narrower you go, people believe, oh, that's limiting myself. I don't want to be a quantum physics guy here, but that you can just do that for like the first year. And then you can go like the next county the second year. You can stack like regular businesses do. They don't go nationwide the first day, right? Yeah. Start with what you can do right here, right now.
It's that ripple effect. Yeah. So many things.
Yeah, it builds upon itself. Your reputation precedes you, and you can build up upon something. It's so much easier to do that than to try to be everywhere all at once. So narrow as soon as you can, and stay there until everyone cannot ignore you. And then you can expand.
So here's a question for you. With all of the personalities you've worked with and all of the people you've done stuff with, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to.
Okay.
But can you name a leader or somebody that you've worked with that you thought really did the emotional intelligence and the human connection and that interconnectedness of people well? And what did they do that caught your attention?
I know a bunch of them. My favorite one right now is a gentleman by the name of Ahmed. He is a founder and CEO of VDart. It's a $300 million company in Atlanta, Georgia. And he has won more awards than I could possibly even count. I was at his office last year, walking through, doing a tour. Award after award after award. Ernst & Young, Accenture, Delta Airlines, they're all just loving on this guy. They had a PhD student from some university wrote their PhD dissertation on Sid's culture.
Nice.
And you look him up on Instagram or watch his stuff, he never ever talks about his business. I haven't seen any business talks at all. We're writing his book right now. It'll be out very, very soon. But in terms of that expression, culture eats strategy for breakfast, this man lives it. He is so people-centric. He's from a little town called Trichy in India. And when you go to Trichy right now and you go to the airport, you go down the escalator, you see his company logo. And you see what he's doing there. He is rebuilding that city from the ground up, one person at a time. And he's going to turn it into something amazing. But he's in the U.S. and doing a lot of business here, of course, with his services. Yeah, he's my number one hero for that. Empathetic connection with everyone. When you meet him, he's instantly your best friend, and it's genuine. You know, I mean, I've met some famous people too who might appear famous in the movies or whatnot, and in real life they're jerks, right?
Yeah.
Sid is the same person online as he is in person, and you can't help but like him.
So he's authentic besides.
Pardon me?
So he's authentic besides.
Yeah, of course, through and through. Yeah.
Wow. See, that does my heart good to hear that, and to hear that people, through the use of emotional intelligence and empathy, you know, yes, you can rise as a leader with it, and you can actually go stratospheric, you know?
He, you know, we're working on his book. I said, how'd you get started? You know, and he's, well, I had a lawn chair and a laptop in my little apartment. And this was just like, don't help me with this number, 15 years ago or so. Company does $300 million a year now. He didn't do that by, you know, raising any capital, borrowing any money. Didn't go public, didn't do any M&A, no merger, no investment capital, just serving people authentically, genuinely. And yeah, he's a very interesting person. So when the book is out, remind me, and I'll send you a copy. You'll dig it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are the kind of people I want to be outside screaming about.
Yeah.
Seriously. You know, wow. So now that you've done all of this, I mean, you're still going. It's not like this is, but with all of the things you've done, is there a place that you would consider to be your favorite? Just like where you bask in it and you glow? Is it the book writing? Is it the teaching relationship building? Is it the working with people? What do you love?
The thing that really gets me jazzed, quite frankly, we started this just recently, but working with all these people individually, one-on-one, ghostwriting, publishing, marketing their message, their story, and their book has been so much fun. I feel like I get my MBA every year just interviewing these people. I learn so much. So I don't feel that guilty, but yeah, it's like I'm getting paid to learn here. But I've always wanted to say, gosh, I just met NFL player who's a full-time dad. I've just met the inventor of GPS. You know, I've just met a guy who worked at P&G. I met a naval officer who transformed something I can't talk about. There's so many different great stories. And I give referrals left and right on an email and a chit chat. I'm like, what would happen if I put them all in a room together? So we started that recently. It's called the Visionaries Roundtable, visionnariesroundtable.com. It's an invitation-only event. You can't just walk into it. It is free. This is part of our business plan. But I pulled together these people in a room with no keynote speakers, no workshops, no boring lectures. It's just roundtable discussions with the coolest people on the planet. And that turns me on like no tomorrow. I mean, there's people there who are getting offered to be ambassadors to a country. There are people who are getting on board of directors offers. Last guy I talked to was our last one. He picked up $63,000 in clients from it. So there's so much value by hanging out with these people. It's hard to even quantify. But when I started to do that, my wife and I run that twice a year. We just get so excited for it because it's that relationship on steroids. We're actually putting people together and there's value happening in the room. You know, you go to these trade shows, right, Melissa? And there's always like stuff on stage, whatnot. But the best part of the trade show or the convention is that conversation in the hallway that you had.
Yeah.
We just bring the hallway into the room. That's all we do. Roundtable discussions. No speed dating. Long discussions about different topics. How to buy a company, how to sell a company, how to grow, how to scale, how to go IPO, how to get lead generation, what tech you're using, AI stuff you're using. And I bring in the smartest people I know, and we all facilitate and have a great time. So that's what gets me going. That's what gets me every day, is because I look forward to this event. And I don't call it my event. I invite people to it. I said, but call it your event. It is yours. I just invite everybody. Invite your own clients. Invite your prospects. Tell them to come to your event and watch and see who they get introduced to. And they'll say, oh my gosh, where do these people come from? They're so cool. I'm like, yeah, my friend Doug brought me. So simple.
Yeah, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's not just the connection, it's the interconnection.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I have a one gentleman who is a former advanced agent for the Secret Service. He has some great stories of, having lunch with Reagan and stuff. And he's a business professional. He's taken a few companies public, does a lot of M&A work. I talked to one of his board members about a project we're working on. And, his topic is self-leadership, by the way. And his testimonial from our last event was like, I love this event so much. I'd be talking to a billionaire on my left and a mom who's starting her company on my right. And I learned from both of them. And that is the essence of it. We have, we do have some startups there, people doing, smaller operations, but very few. It's mainly people 7, 8, 9-figure businesses.
Yeah.
But the point is that everybody learns from everybody if they're open to it. And big egos don't make it through our gauntlet. They don't really work well. They don't play well at our events because it's not about you. It's about interconnection, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it hearing these kind of stories that are just so much about what I talk about, and that it's like, yeah, it's actually happening. People are doing this,
Yeah.
And the other thing that I hear you saying too is that a lot of these people naturally foster a growth mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And
right.
I love hearing that as well, because if we're not learning, we're dying. So,
yeah. Right.
And
it's so funny because I have, a couple of people are, exceedingly smart, like dozens of patents and taking many companies public. I mean, just winning in every single way possible. And to have them say they learned something tells me more about them than anything else. And that learning mindset. I was talking to a good friend of mine actually yesterday on this IPO, how to take your company public. And most of the conversation was about what your topic is. It's about people skill and mindset and, what your belief system is, because our biggest detractor for our success is us. Yeah. And we might say, oh yeah, people just go tactical. Well, I need new whiz bang software. I need new marketing strategy. I'm like, why don't you look in the mirror first and see what you believe? When I was doing real estate, I was, start like most people, like, go ahead and, rehab a house, whatnot. And somebody told me once, it's the same amount of work to buy an apartment building as it is a house. Just got to add a zero. And so I pretty quickly did that. And I was like, whoa, it's actually less work because I have to hire out everything. I can't rehab the whole building myself. I got to hire it out. So there's more scale there, but the amount of actual tactical work is identical. It's just mindset. So business growth and leadership, you can become whomever you want to be. You just have to believe it and start acting like it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. Yeah. This has been fantastic. I have one more question for you.
Fire
just
away.
as a way to wrap things up. So if you can think of one person, alive or dead, known or unknown, that has influenced you and what you feel is your leadership style, whether it's self-leadership or leadership of others, who would it be and why?
Robert Crowe, my father. Because this man, don't make me cry, this man was a dentist. And not many people look forward to going to the dentist. Here, give me some pain, doc, right? We don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
But this man was the funniest person. I mean, Robin Williams and him would have got along really well. He's just hilarious. Imagine being a dentist cracking a joke and his hands are in your mouth. It's like, but his one thing I'll never forget about Dad, he's passed a few years ago, 97, was no matter where we went, didn't matter, restaurant, theme park, doesn't matter. He'd always compliment people genuinely, authentically, and it wasn't always easy. Sometimes you run across some pretty grumpy or ugly people. And I don't mean just physically. I mean, it could be in a bad mood or whatnot.
Yeah.
You'd always find something to compliment them on. And you see these people's faces light up because they've never heard a compliment in their life, let alone, it's just appreciating a human being for whatever they've done, whatever they appear to, it doesn't matter. Just appreciating humanity is what my dad taught me. And that's a gift that, man, I hope I can pass on to my kids and friends and your listeners.
Yeah, I hope so too. It would be a fantastic lesson for us all. We can all do better with that.
Yeah.
So Doug, where can people find you?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, okay.
Today. Yeah. If you want to go online first, which I recommend, because I don't know if you want to drive here unless you're in town. But online, I'm available. I'd love to talk to any of your listeners about what they're working on and give you a few minutes of my time and connections. I always like giving a referral as a way to show you I care about you. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can go to linkedin.com/the Doug Crowe. You go to dougcrowe.com and contact form. I'm on LinkedIn and email more than Facebook and Instagram. I go to Instagram for woodworking projects to look up stuff for woodworking, Facebook for high school friends, and LinkedIn for business. So you can just look me up. I'm pretty available on all platforms. Just contact me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a true pleasure.
My pleasure.
Really
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, listeners. We appreciate you being here. Please tune in next week where we'll get more empathy, emotional intelligence, and leadership. Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next time.